time. Here. Come on, come on. Pile on in, pile on in. Pile on in. What up, y'all? What's up, Raven? What's up, Nick? What's up, Miss Porsche? Hell yeah. I done hit the jump rope, the heavy bag for about an hour. Now I wasn't going to my room and do this broadcast from my computer, but I don't smoke in the house. Smoke outside so the shit doesn't get all up in the fabric. What's up, Sheila? You right, gotta love yourself. That's always my message. Love yourself. Regardless of the immediate circumstances. You got to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, ain't nobody fucking with you. That's what these LGBTQ people don't realize. Not the people, the system, the organization. They're always trying to get people to, you gotta accept me. You gotta love me. No, nigga. You train people how to treat you. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you love yourself, people gonna love you. If you love yourself, people will love you because you taught them to love you, because you've shown them how to love you through how you love yourself. Somebody asked me what books am I reading? I'm reading Lives Across America by James Lowen. It's a movie, it's a book about that's a book about America, like in all the goddamn historical lies, and it goes through like a bunch of monuments through all the country, and talks about how those monuments be lying their ass off, leaving black folks out and shit. And that's why I don't do all that all lives matter shit. Sebastian said couldn't make it to the show in Vegas due to this explosive diarrhea. Hey. It was sold out anyway, my brother. What's up, Bakari? We're going to have some more shows. Oh, if you're in LA, either the 3rd or 4th week of June, we haven't decided yet, but Craig Facts is going to be live here in LA. Mississippi in the building. Yeah. I salute anybody who still live in Mississippi after all that shit that niggas done gone through. You still down in Mississippi, you a soldier. My family left Natchez, Mississippi. My family left Natchez, Mississippi in 1890 and moved to Benton Harbor, Michigan. And that's where my great granddad moved. It's a story I always say. And this is why, like, look, let me be clear. It's a lot of things these people talk about, but there's a reason why. Let me be clear on why I focus. I appreciate that, Nora, son. That interview with Judge Joe Brown was fun, man. Judge is great. I love Judge. Judge is that elder that all of us young folks need to listen to. And when I say young, anybody younger than Judge. That's including you 50-year-old and 55-year-old motherfuckers. we blessed to have Judge Joe Brown. Yeah, Sub-Zero. We're going to have Craig Facts live in LA pretty soon, in a couple weeks. see. I'm using. Y'all know me. I don't do too many blunts. But these are them hemp blunts. I can do hemp blunts. I can't do that fucking tobacco shit. I can do hemp blunts. But that tobacco, no tobacco for me. But here's why, like, whenever I talk, I still always focus on the system of white supremacy. Because a lot of people get confused. They always say, hey, but everybody's being discriminated against. Yes, everybody is being discriminated against. I agree. And for the last 100 or so years, black Americans have tried to get everybody to come together and fight a common enemy. Problem is, unfortunately, non-black groups, the minute they get their comeuppance, they stop fucking with us. I could take you back to the Germans doing this in the 1850s and 1840s and 1870s. I can take you back to the Irish doing this in the 1870s on, the Chinese. So whenever we say black first, it's no disrespect to any other group. Black first is never any disrespect to any other group. We just saying, hell, since every time we help folks out, they stop fucking with us, we gotta focus on ourselves. And through focusing on ourselves, that still don't mean hating or disrespecting anybody else. It's just that when you're on a goddamn airplane, you put the mask on first. We are fucking black. I'm not about to have that conversation with you niggas. Yes, that is the classification we are designated under, and we can use that. It's the simple. See, a lot of the cats, and I don't have an issue with the more. I know all about the more stuff, so y'all don't have to come in this. Look, new people new to this chat room, new to following me. I get it. I ain't got no hate for none of y'all, but trust me, I very totally understand the whole Moorish dynamic. Promise you I do. But I know something a lot of you Moorish cats don't understand. And that's the power of rhetoric. That's the power of rhetoric, and that's the power of labels. And when it comes to the rhetoric in this country, black people have been our rule, our resources, our freedom, our ability to move within this nation has been taken from us on the lines of the colors Negro and black. We will get ourselves back on those lines. When you start introducing these other terms, that creates confusion. And confusion is the number one tool of white supremacy. There's no such thing as white either. But guess what? If you're classified as white, you get lower loans, lower FICO scores, higher FICO scores, higher loans, higher FICO scores, lower interest rates, better jobs. Nigga, you get all that shit based on a classification. I know, you know what am I? I'm a fucking human being. That's what I am. But my classification within the context of the United States of America is black. And I'm not fighting that. Because a lot of these other cats be like, y'all niggas will spend 15 goddamn hours, 15 years fighting over what to call us. And while niggas is fighting over what to call you, these niggas are still fucking you over. That's my whole point. Niggas would be been debating in New York. They'll rent out a hall in New York. And we ain't black. We the Moors. We the Israelites. Because on one faction, you're going to have cats saying we the Moors. Then you're going to have cats saying we the Israelites. Then you're going to have saying we the Aboriginals. We're going to have cats saying, I know this is my land, Patrick. God damn it. That's what you niggas don't understand. I know this is our land. I know we're indigenous here. You get it? I know all this shit. My family is Potawatomi. That's part of my lineage. Another part of my lineage is Choctaw. God damn it. I know all this. But all of us, whether you can consider yourself Moorish, Hebrew Israelite, Choctaw, Aboriginal, whatever the fuck you consider yourself, your resources were taken along the lines of black. So to cut out all confusion, people whose resources and rights were taken along color lines will be restored along color lines. So that covers if you're Moorish, Hebrew Israelite, Muslim, a eunuch, LGBTQ, whatever. If your classification in the context of the United States of America is black, that's what we're talking about. See, that'd be the thing. People like to debate. People like to major in the minors and spark. If you want to reclassify yourself and have others respect that, you're going to have to also have a military to enforce your new reclassification. And if you don't have a military to enforce your new reclassification don't mean shit. Let's tell the truth. You can call yourself all you want, but if you don't have the power to reinforce it, so miss me with all that, what do we call ourselves? Hell, call yourself a one-legged midget for all I care. What do I think about the esoteric and occult sciences? Man, I love Bobby Hemmett. Bobby Hemmett was on that real shit. For anybody who don't know who Bobby Hemmett is, look him up. Bobby Hemmett, think about this. Bobby Hemmett hasn't spoken over 10 years. Most of the videos we see from Bobby Hemmett was back in the 90s and the early 2000s. And what he was saying 20 years ago, 30 years ago, don't that shit sound like what we going through right now? Bobby Hemmett 25 years ago talked about how this country's is going to one day get to a point to where we're going to be on medical lockdown. Bobby Hemmett I saw a video of him like in 2005 where he talked about they're going to try to impose vaccines on us. And the nigga sounded crazy back then. It's like everything Bobby Hemmett sounded like back then, the things that he was talking about then, talking about now. So, man, I love Bobby Hemmett. All right, that's right, Mark by Smith. I keep it plain and simple. Foundational Black American, right. If you're a foundational Black American, or some people like Claude Anderson says, Native Black American, like Norris Shelton says, Black American descendants of slaves. I mean, DOAS, descendants of American slaves is his. These are the people who were on this land before the European came, along with the people who were imported to this land from Africa to till the fields of this land and all that good stuff. So, Foundation of Black Americans, there were so many tribes of people here in the United States, what's now in the United States. This has always been a very metropolitan land. What's up, Sister Moon? This continental U.S. has always been very metropolitan. You have tribes from all over. On the West Coast, you have the Mongoloid tribes that came down. Yes, I believe Atlantis existed. I also believe Lemuria existed. And it's not hard to believe. But let me finish about this point about the continental United States before I go on to Atlantis and Lemuria. Do y'all hear that horn in the background? Let me know if y'all hear that horn in the background. But, yeah, Moo also. Okay, it's just us. But Canada, the continental U.S., I mean, you had the Mongoloid people migrate across the Bering Strait 5,000 years ago. They were down here. You had the Moorish traders. You had the people who were already here. You had the Twambute. People don't like talking about the Twambute, known as the Pygmies, because when you read the text from the Mongoloid, they say those little Twambute, the little short dudes, those were the mound builders. Get this book by Dr. James Imhotep, The First Americans Were Africans. Talks about those mounds all about Alabama, St. Louis, up and down the Mississippi River were built by the Twa. There was a war in the book. There was a war in the year 990, over off Halifax, where it was now Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's when the Vikings first tried to come over here to the continental United States. They fought a war against the Twa and Mbuti, them little midgets, and them Twa beat they asses and pushed them back to Europe for 200 years. The Vikings didn't come back until the year 1100. Yeah, Mexican. But here's why it's so easy to believe. Like, people, we talking about Atlantis, Lemuria, and these different lands that are no longer above ground. People think it's crazy that other pieces of land existed and whole continents are now under the water. Well, that's not hard to believe when you understand Earth history. Because I always say you always put written history next to climate history. So think of it like this. Mu was a land that they say was around in the Australia area. Well, think about it. Go pull up your map right now. Go to Bora Bora, those islands right above Australia. And if you look back 30,000 years ago when we were in the Ice Age, when we were in the Warmian Ice Age, there was half this planet was covered in ice. That meant the sea levels were lower. So that all that Malaysia, Thailand, Bora Bora, all those lands were once all above ground. Because of the Ice Age. It's really not, it's like not spooky. This earth gets hot, it gets cold. It gets hot, it gets cold. And when it gets cold, there's more ice. When there's more ice, there's a lower sea level. When there's a lower sea level, there's more land above ground. Get it? Same thing off the coast of, look up in the Bahamas. Look up, I'll tell you another thing. Google Bimini Road. Bimini Road. Down off the coast of, in the Bahamas. About 60 feet under the water, you see a huge breakwater and what looks like a port, what used to be a port for large ships that existed 30, 40,000 years ago. Well, that was before the last ice age started freezing things the way it is right now. So, man, that's why I be like, man, in this life thing, we got to have an open mind, man. We don't know shit. I don't know shit. You don't know shit. None of us know shit. That's why I don't get too hard into, we was this, we was that. We got to do this. We was, nigga. Yeah, cats was the original Hebrews, but that was one part of time in one piece of land on one corner of the planet. There was still a whole other earth and shit, hundreds of thousands of years of us being Homo sapiens sapien. Yeah, we all that. Hell, you could have incarnated as a Hebrew, as an Israelite 2,000 years ago. You could have reincarnated as a Moor 800 years ago, and you here again now. I don't know how this shit works, man. I just read a lot and draw my own conclusions. But it ain't hard to do. Gotta keep an open mind. We gotta keep an open mind. We don't know. We don't know. That's why I don't argue with niggas. People be wanting me since I be reading a lot. Niggas, I had a few people always want me to go debate somebody. I ain't got time to be debating nobody. For what? Because like for me, the main reason why I don't debate online is because I was on the debate team in college, and I know what real debate is, and it ain't this shit niggas do online. In order to have a real debate, you have to qualify terms, qualify definitions. You have to say what you have to say, have it supported with evidence, and you have to be able to discount what someone else says. If they have evidence, you have to be able to target the evidence and have reasoning behind evidence behind what you're saying to debunk their evidence. Niggas online don't do that. Niggas just argue to be right. And I don't have time for that. I'm about to roll this hemp blunt. About to smoke this. Blackberry Kush. I appreciate that, Glenn Scott. Yeah, I do take interview requests for whoever asks. Email hotepish@gmail.com. That's why, like, I had somebody last week on my show hit the super chat and ask me a question. I don't know. I was able to tell them, look, I don't know. And I love being able to tell people I don't know. Somebody said I'm a clown. Well, that means your mama like clown dick, bitch. You're right, Marcus. I don't argue or debate. Just drop facts and move on. Hey, I'm with you, Chuck. Chuck, that was a good comment. The true history of melanated people is so crazy, it's almost too far out there to grasp. I'm with you. That's why I'm so open-minded. I don't know. Oh, no. Okay, I misunderstood what you said, Hybrid. My bad. My bad for misunderstanding what you said. Y'all niggas gotta remember. See, I'm a comedian. I'm gonna talk shit. A lot of people, like a lot of people, like they see me as an intellectual because I read a lot of information, whatever. But I ain't one of them intellectual niggas that walk around like, hey, I'm smarter than you. No, I'm a fast food eating, weed smoking, wine drinking. I'm the most refined, ignorant nigga you will ever meet. I'm a wine snob. I can smell the wine and tell you if it came out of an oak barrel or a metal barrel. I can tell you the climate the wine was probably grown in. And I'll also cuss you out and call you anything other than what your mama wished you'd be called. Tasha, you know me in the chat room. Tasha, know. I'm the most refined, ignorant, sorry nigga you ever met. My belief in life is when they go low, go lower. Ain't that the game in football? Leverage? Ain't that how leverage works? When I was on offensive line, when I played football, whoever got lower got the leverage, right? So when somebody go low on me, nigga, I'll be ready to clip their balls off. Let's go, nigga. Let's go. You ain't gonna go lower than me. What was I talking about? What was I talking about? But yeah, life is, I mean, look at their underwater pyramids in Japan. Were those pyramids built underwater? No. PJ Matthews, I wrote it when the video started. I appreciate that, yeah, man. I appreciate that. But we as a people, you gotta know that. Like Japan has underwater pyramids because that part of Japan was once above water. You ever drive through the United States? Like drive through Arizona. You're right, Lisa. Failure a lesson. And get my book, No Time to Waste. My book talks about all this. Get my book. Hotepish.com/Shapiro. You'll see the book right up top. You're right, it's some underwater by Cuba. The reason we're not told this, let's see. The reason why we're not told this information is because white folks have a 6,000 year history. You're right, get it, girl. You tell the Grand Canyon, you can tell. Like, you see all those mesas in Arizona up to 17 freeway as you're leaving Phoenix going to Sedona? All a mesa is what was once a mountain that was shaved off during the Ice Age. When them ice caps receded, they took off whole tops of mountains. And that's what those mesas are in Arizona. So not only was the Grand Canyon not only once underwater, so was Mesa, Arizona. That was once under ice. And during previous ice ages, when ice ages receded, they chopped off the top of the mountain and left those mesas. Go out there, and then like you go through Arizona, there's a place I went to, it's called Montezuma's Castle. They attribute it to Montezuma, who existed about 800 years ago. But Montezuma's Castle were these cliffside dwellings just before you get to Sedona, Arizona, up the 17 freeway. You can go and you see these cliffs, and you can go in them. It's these big old cities inside cliffs, inside the cliff, built by black folks. You got those same type dwellings inside the Grand Canyon where people live. You have metal nature in the Grand Canyon. Yes, mesa means table, flat. The reason why those mountains are flat is because those used to be mountains that were shaved off when the Ice Age was receding. But those same dwellings that the Dogon live in now in Mali, inside cliffs, well, you find those same type dwellings in Arizona now. Another quick one for y'all. Look up a man named George Majunkin. George Majunkin. 1908, sometime in the early 1900s. It was a black man, Folsom, New Mexico, found these bones. Found their whole towns. That's why if you ever look up the word Folsom, Folsom, Arizona, Folsom, New Mexico, Folsom, California, Folsom, Georgia, where the prison is. These are places where the Folsom people existed. These were black folks. And a man named George Majunkin found a site in Folsom, New Mexico. Look that up. Bones of black people who were here tens of thousands of years ago, before the Ice Age. Where people live is determined by climate. Under the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert was all that was once a forest. So many under that sand, there's so many old rivers and towns and cities and states. Well, let me tell you, oh man, it's like I said before, The reason they don't tell us this is because the Caucasian has been around for about 4 to 8,000 years, according to him. Look up Cheddar Man. Look up the Caucasian, the Caucasoid came around about between 6 and 8,000 years ago. Some people say, like Brother Kaba, when I interviewed him, it's when they were caught in the Ice Age above the 51st parallel. Other people like Bobby Hemmings say they were created. I don't know. But what I do know is they've only been around for about 6,000 years. And when you've only been around a place for only 6,000 years, you got to make it seem like wasn't nothing else going on before you got here to make it seem like you don't want to make it cracking. That's why they look up the word. Let's look it up. What do they call it? History? What do they call anything that happened before 6,000 years ago? Prehistory. Prehistoric times. That's why I don't get into all this majoring in the minors of what people call people, because when you use the words that they use, you can decode the bullshit. History, his story, the Caucasian's story. So what's pre-his story? Why do they call it pre-his story? Pre-his story are events that happened before he became able to write his story. Because he wasn't here. Like Dr. John Henry Clark, we had civilizations rise and fall thousands of times over before he created a shoe or a window. These people were in caves while we was doing all this other shit. And the Bering Strait melted, what, about 6,000 years ago? And that's when the Mongoloids came over. But as far as the Caucasian, he wasn't around for Lemuria, Atlantis. He wasn't around for all of these different things that were going on in the world. He wasn't in existence. Now he knows about it because he's read our stuff. He knows about it because he's read what we've written. And the deeper he digs, the blacker things get. So in order to keep your black ass out your power, they act like it doesn't exist, and they have us fighting over what we're gonna call ourselves. Oh, Larry Goodwell in the building. Hey, Larry. Nigga. I want everybody in the chat room to say fuck you to Larry Goodwell. Because the next time Larry come to LA, that nigga know what it is. Larry nigga, hey, click on Larry's profile. Larry look like an ancient Mesopotamian. Speaking of that, look at Larry's beard. All the Mesopotamians back in the day look like Larry Goodwell. Tasha, stop being nice to Larry. No, you in bed. Larry, you don't want to see these hands, boy. I swear to God, dog. Larry, I was saying the other day, all the ancient Philistines in the Bible look like Larry. That nigga Larry is the last living Philistine. Larry, I'll fuck you up, boy. You You don't want to see these hands. Larry had 4 sold-out shows in Houston this past weekend. That's dope. Yeah, black folks invented karate and the Mantu arts, aka martial arts. Nah. Me and Larry was once in the boxing ring together with gloves, and he didn't want none. Larry, stop talking all that shit. We was in the boxing glove. We was in the boxing ring together one time, and you didn't want none of it. You didn't want to see these hands, so I don't want to hear this shit. Yeah, it's got my. But yeah, dog, like, yeah, the first samurai was black. We invented all this shit. Here's how you. This is. Let me give y'all my way of decoding the past. You guys, everybody got to find their own way. But here's my way of decoding the past. I put what you're telling me about history next to what I understand and know now and how I see things operate now. So, when they tell you black people invented everything, all the music from back in the day, I say, how does that work now? Well, because people have a hard time believing that Beethoven was a Moor and that classical music is black. Yeah, hit the like button. People have a hard time believing that. So I answered. This is how I answer people who have a hard time believing classical music is black. Classical, who invented how to write notes? The bass clef, the treble clef, 8th note, 16th note. How can a people who never created a form of music create a writing system for music? Ask yourself that question. Then I found out through Ivan Van Sertima's book, the Moorish influence of Spain. The Moors brought, because I know the organ was before the piano. The whole point of the piano was the little small ass frail European who were at the time 4 feet tall, 3'5". They were too small to play the harp. So the Moors took the harp and put it inside of a box. And they put it inside of the box and put keys to it, put organ keys to it. There's the piano. Hold on. Hello? I'm in the garage. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I don't. But I'm doing live right now. I'll be there in a little bit. All right. Oh, shit. Let me stop this. But the Moors invented all that shit. So, it stands to reason if there was no music that you can speak of in Europe before the Moors got there, and then they got left with this classical music, who brought it? Same thing as now. Who invented hip hop? Black people. Who invented funk? Black people. Where does all American music stem from? The blues and gospel, black music. So why, if they can't invent no new shit now, musically, how could they have invented the classical music? What is all? Look at the food. This is a Netflix special out right now talking about like American, how black folks, basically American cuisine is black cuisine. Mac and cheese and all that shit invented by black people. How can a group of people who had no resources back at home, all they ate was potatoes, and even those potatoes they got from the original Celtics, a bunch of black folks. Potatoes aren't even indigenous to Ireland and England. They got brought there. How can a group of people who have no resources, you see the food in England, that's just nasty as hell, fish and chips. How can they be responsible for American cuisine when they have none of that cuisine back in their homeland? Who taught them that? Cooking is science. How can a motherfucker who don't know shit about science create it? But yeah, man, you say a family member invented tampon? Shit. That's the thing, black folks, we invented so much stuff, but we didn't get to reap the benefits. I found out it was a black man that invented the term catering. And the whole catering business came from the mind of a black man. The whole industry came from the mind of a black man. We don't know this. So every time we peel back the layers, we find black Americans under anything American. And anything American, when you peel back the layer, anything American other than mass murder, we invented and created. Why would you believe them tell you that about all these lies about further history and prehistory? You ever created Jack Daniels? Yep. Animal domestication? Yep. So that's the big thing as a people. Dad said, and Crocs. I got some Crocs on right now. Larry, dog, you do not want to fight. Keep telling you, Larry. We can do it like this. We can do it like this. Like this. Or like this. Whichever way you want it, you Philistine bitch. Yeah, so it's like we gotta combine all the things that we know and just look at the landscape. Nah, y'all don't understand, man. All these stories, when I be telling y'all about my old show, sports and things, when I used to talk sports, Larry was on that. Larry was a part of all of my iterations of my radio shows up until this one. And hell, early Hotepish, Larry was the co-host, but Larry bitch ass got a job that be fucking with his schedule, so he couldn't co-host. So I had to start doing this shit by myself. Yeah, but before Larry's schedule changed, he was the co-host of this shit. Yeah, Glenn Scott, Culture's Burning Books. Yep. Cultures used to burn books. There was a mass book burning in, I think, 1506 or 1502. I think 1506. Because the Moors were kicked out of Spain in 1492. And they only raided the libraries for the maps on how to get other places in the world. They didn't really fuck with the libraries like that. But in 1506, there was a mass burning of all the books in Moorish Spain. When Martel and when all them motherfuckers took, not Martel, Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, when they took over, them motherfuckers went through all them libraries. University of Salamanca. That was the first university in Europe. They went through all those books. But I'm glad you said that. But let me tell you something. Y'all know why the Anglo-Saxon is the leader of all the Germanic tribes now? It was the German. Well, he's also Anglo-Saxon. Anglo. But it was the Anglo-Saxon. That was England, Anglo-land. England, Anglo. England, the British monarchy is controlled by Germans. Queen Elizabeth is a German. Same thing with the French monarchy. Germans. Well, anyway, those Anglo-Saxons, what made them smarter than a lot of the rest of them was the first thing that they did was they went and got the knowledge. You guys don't understand. Y'all know what's the #1 university in the world according to them? According to them, The number one university in the world is Oxford. Oxford University. Why does Oxford have all the information and have more information than the other schools? Because Oxford was started after the conquest of the Moors. They would go down to those libraries and take all of those books from the universities in Moorish Spain. That's what put them ahead of everybody else. That put them ahead of, they had the university in Toledo, not Toledo, Ohio. God damn, my stream is jumpy. What the fuck is going on? Damn it. Can y'all see me now? Can y'all at least hear me? Okay, it looks like it's getting better. Okay, yeah, we're getting better now. Yeah. They also, another thing, right about that, they went down into Timbuktu. See, the Arab, when the Arab conquered the African, the Arab wasn't too smart. The Arab didn't really go in and get the information. The Arab sort of just sat on a lot of that shit. They didn't really do anything with it. When they came in with the Ottoman Empire, they let a lot of that information sit. And they also burned a lot of books, but they didn't really do anything with it. When the European came into those lands, the European, at least the Anglo-Saxon, was at least smart enough to say, hey, let me get that information over there. Let me get the knowledge. Hell, we look at the Vatican. What put the Vatican and Rome ahead of everybody was they stole the books. See, they tell you that the Alexander the Great burned down the library in Egypt, the Library of Alexandria, and it did catch fire. But a lot of those books were saved and taken to the Vatican, and that's why when Cleopatra bitch ass sold out Egypt because she wanted to suck Caesar's dick, that's why the Europeans celebrate Cleopatra, because she was a sellout. She was too busy looking for dick. She told Caesar all the secrets. Them motherfuckers could not penetrate Africa. It was Cleopatra that pillow talked, told them the secrets. And that's when Caesar came and conquested Egypt, went to the Library of Alexandria, stole that knowledge, and that knowledge now lies in the Vatican. Well, that's what the Anglo-Saxon did. They stole all that knowledge out of Spain. You're right, all the books weren't burned. Yeah, that was the angle they wanted to show. I'm sure they burned a lot of books. But the important books they kept, I promise you. The first thing the Anglo-Saxon does when he raids a nation is steal information. That's what Germany did. And that's why Germany was ahead of everyone else 100 years ago, technologically. The Germans were the first to get the information. And that's why they were able to build jet engines and have all those German scientists. What pushed the United States ahead of Germany and ahead of the rest of the world? Well, at the end of World War II, what did the United States do? It took all the Nazi scientists, it took all the information that they had in Nazi Germany, all those scientists, all that stuff. The United States took the brains of Germany. What did the United States do when they went to Iraq and Afghanistan? They raided the libraries. Go back, a lot of you niggas may be too young. But 2003, this when I used to watch news every goddamn day. I was really into this shit because in college, I didn't understand Black history and world history, like non-attached history, I should say, much. But I was very much in understanding of what the white folks and what the schools was telling me. I was in the middle of college, so I was totally bought into the system back then. So I used to watch the news every goddamn day to see what was going on. I used to actually believe that shit. But I remember when they first raided Afghanistan, one of the first moves that they did was go to the libraries. When they first raided Iraq, one of the first thing that they did was go to the libraries. They raided those libraries first, then they put bombs on them. The Smithsonian Institute, the French Louvre, the the museum in England, all these places is where they stole all information and knowledge. That they don't teach your black ass. Yeah. That's one thing I'll give the European, the Anglo-Saxon right for the knowledge. But hoard the knowledge and use the knowledge against the rest of them. That's their game. And that's why black folks, I don't take racism personally, because it's the weakest people using whatever advantage they can have to stay on top. I ain't mad at that. They gotta do what they gotta do. Because every time that they don't, when they think about Europe and the Caucasoid land without us. They ain't got no food. They ain't got no technology. They got men playing women in plays, bestiality. Who want to live in that? You might as well conquer the people with all the culture, make them feel stupid, lie to them and tell them they ain't shit. Just basically whatever insecurity you got within about yourself, project that onto them, because them niggas is so dumb they gonna believe it. Why not do that? I ain't mad at I have no grudges towards the European. The European is, I don't even want to call them the Caucasoid. They're doing what they gotta do to stay on top. I ain't mad at that. We just gotta get on code and stop it. If somebody's riding your back, why would they get off and walk themselves if you're gonna let them ride their back? Nigga, giddy up, horsey. If you're gonna just sit there and be a horse for these motherfuckers and do all the work, why not? I don't get mad at them. I ain't got no time for anger. My heart is open, man. Shit. My heart is open. I only teach history and black history so black folks can understand that we ain't crazy. We ain't stupid. Something happened to us. We were knocked on our asses by the people we helped. Now it's time to get up. Hell yeah, that's true. All books do. You have to go through the Vatican before they're dispersed in the schools. Yes. Everything we learn got to be curated. Because the United States ain't nothing but Rome. The United States is Rome. When Rome fell, the people in existence now that are running things are still tied to that empire. That's why you see all those pictures of George Washington and Roman looking like a damn Roman. But yeah, we ain't got, like, the whole point of talking white supremacy ain't to get mad and be like, rah, 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 kill whitey. We ain't got time for that shit. Just gotta be re-strategized. Like, and that's what, yeah, I said before, I don't rock with people saying we can't talk about, it ain't about white supremacy. Yes, the fuck it is. Why? because everybody in here did algebra. Raise it, type in the number 1 if you've taken algebra at any point in your life. Well, if you've taken algebra, how do you solve an equation with multiple variables? 3x by 7y equals 23 minus 7. How do you get the answer? Before you solve for x, you have to find the value of y. This is what a lot of right-wing black people do. I'm not on either wing. I'm Dwan. I don't do Democrat or Republican. On the left wing, the left-wing Negroes like to say we need help solving our problems. We need the other side to help us solve our problems. That's what the left side Negroes do. We can't do this alone. We need your help. These niggas forgot that no one in this life is going to help you. You have to help yourself. That's where the right-wingers get it right. The right-wing Negroes know that. No, we got to help ourselves. We got to help ourselves. They're not going to help us. We got to do it. That's where the right wing gets it right on the black side of the game. Where the right wing gets it wrong is when they say we ain't got to worry about white supremacy. If the variable is in the equation, yes, you have to worry about it. Two things can be true at once. Yes, we have to help ourselves and solve our own problems. Yes. And yes, we have to solve the issue of white supremacy that's been on us for the last 400 years. Because they're not going to help solve that. You have to solve for all variables in an equation. Every variable, every letter, before you find out what X means, you have to solve for Y, for A, for B, for whatever number letter they put in the equation. You got to solve for each letter before you find the value of X. And you do that through developing a code of conduct to counter their code. So don't let anyone ever tell you it's not about them. Now you can say it's not about them's level. It is not about them when it comes to you. They still can't stop you from winning. No, they can't. Nobody can stop you from winning. But as a group, in order for us to collectively win, we have to all individually win and then collectively solve for why. Why meaning white supremacy. Why do we still have to solve for white supremacy when we collectively win? Well, tomorrow, Tuesday, is the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street on Tuesday. And it wasn't just Black Wall Street. We had hundreds of black towns throughout this country that were successful. When we all came together and won in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we never solved for the value of why, white supremacy. We didn't take into account the jealousy these people have when they see us win. We didn't pay attention to the enemy. We don't still, and I see when I listen to a lot of black folks talk today, we don't understand how jealous these people are. And again, that ain't even all the way about us. This is how they acted in Europe. If they saw anything successful going on in Europe for thousands of years, they would take and steal from anything. If any other tribe had anything, when they were the nomadic tribes of Europe, if any other tribe had an inch more than them, they would have whole on wars. That's what the fucking Crusades was about. Crusades was white folks killing white folks for power. Then they went on and fought the Arabs and stuff like that. But the beginning of the Crusades, that's white folks killing white folks for power. This is their total history. That's why I'm like, you got to understand European and Caucasian history. The Chinese built a whole fucking Great Wall that you can see from space to keep these bastards out. They don't tell you that part. The reason the Great Wall of China was built is because every time these Caucasoids left that mountain, those caves, they came out wreaking havoc on anything and everything that they saw. That's why one of the most notorious tribes of Europe is the Vandals. That's where the term vandalism comes from. That's who they are, without us ever being around. That's how they are with one another. Look at that movie Wall Street. The original Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, like what, 1988, 1989? They tell you business is warfare. Ask yourself, why does business have to be warfare? Why can't I sell my shit, make my little money, you sell your shit, make your little money, and we all go home and live? No. Pay attention to Wall Street, the stock market. All Wall Street is one major business trying to take the other business out. All throughout the 80s, they had a thing called hostile takeovers. Businesses just buying up a whole other business because just for the fact we sell toys, you sell toys, we're going to take your company over so we could be the only one selling toys. That's how they act with one another. Niggas. The reason why KB Toys, those back in the 80s and 90s, remember KB Toys? KB Toys was in every mall in America. Do y'all know why KB Toys is no longer in existence? Because Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's company, decided, we want a toy store and we want to liquidate a company of its assets. So they put these crazy loans on these companies at these crazy interest rates that they'll never be able to pay back, take out exorbitant fees, so Bain Capital makes hundreds of millions of dollars on just the fees alone, sink the stock price, hedge down, and they say, okay, by December 1996 or whatever year, this company is going to go under. They hedge, they make money on the fees, then they make more money on the hedge, on the short sell. Short selling is, okay, I'm going to sell the stock. I don't know short selling too detailed, but I'm going to give you a surface level understanding of short selling. Short sell, I'm going to, I have this stock at $8, $9 a share. I'm going to sell it when it reaches $3. And that difference is what I keep. So that's how they do each other now. Black folks don't seem to understand that. So we build some shit, and what do? Take it. See, the black folks in Tulsa should have known better. Why should they have known better? Don't take me back. This is not criticism. I'm not criticizing it. Look, I have family that was in Tulsa during Black Wall Street, all right? My grandmother, my great-grandparents were in Tulsa in 1921. My grandmother was born in Tulsa in 1929. So I'm not talking shit. I'm just talking about how we need to learn from history. Because throughout the 19 teens, these type things were going on to black towns. Black towns were getting burned down. After the movie Burns, throughout the country were getting burned. We can go back to the Wilmington Massacre of 1898. Town democratically elected black officials throughout the town. White folks came down and burned the town down. They've always done this. So black folks got to know, whatever fucking Wakanda we plan on building next, we better build a strong defense for it along with it. As you build defenses for it. But we can't build defenses for it because you got niggas saying, oh man, ain't no thing in white supremacy. Then the white folks don't matter. All right. Build your empire and find out. Bill Cosby didn't understand that. He built his empire and thought he was free. He didn't build a defense system along with it. Part of a defense system is leaving them fucking white women alone. But these niggas don't seem to understand that. Because we's free, man. All right. Keep fucking with them white women and see it and hope they don't come back 30 years later when you forgot about them. Now, I'm not going to talk shit about Bill Cosby was railroaded. You got to go look up Deontra Nicole Williams, Nicole's View. Go look up Nicole's View. She followed the whole Bill Cosby trial live when it happened. Bill Cosby was basically convicted of giving a woman a Benadryl that she asked for. Yeah, that's what he's convicted for. That Steve Nash looking bitch asked for a Benadryl. He gave it to her. And she says, I went to sleep and I think he touched me while I was asleep. Question, we've all taken Benadryl before. That should have put you to sleep. But it ain't going to knock you out well enough to not know if you were touched or not. So, Bill Cosby didn't build a defense. He built his empire, but he was out there living as if white supremacy didn't exist. Hell, Hugh Hefner is on CNN talking to Larry King about using Spanish fly. Did nobody give a fuck? Bill Cosby on TV said back in the 70s, he got the whole thing using Spanish fly from Hugh Hefner at Playboy Mansion. So you niggas can run around and act like white supremacy don't exist. But I'm a student of history. You're right, Dev. Cosby was smashing them point blank. He wasn't no forceful nothing. Cosby was a 100 millionaire around a whole bunch of thirsty ass industry rats. Janice Dickinson has a book talking about using Spanish fly regularly to have sex and having sex with over 1,000 men in her own fucking book. Using Spanish fly to have sex in the 70s was like how niggas how you'll get a chick drunk on tequila shots or whatever. Same thing. Only difference is in 30 years, culture change. Remember this. Culture shifts every 25 years. Every 25 years there's a new culture, a new cultural norm. Remember that. This is anthropology talking. Every 25 years there is a cultural shift. So in 25 years, there could be a shift saying that drinking alcohol before having sex is really bad. And in the year 2055, there could be a whole bunch of public announcement TV commercials. Don't drink alcohol and have sex. That can misguide somebody. That can be rape. And the culture changes. Like, oh shit, no more alcohol to have sex. And then in 2056, they go back and look at what you're doing right now in 2020 and say, you was getting chicks drunk at the club and having sex when you left the club all through your 20s. Why? Because that's what niggas do. And the women do. That's what the women do. a lot of the women, they wanted drinks to give themselves an excuse to have sex. But in 25 years, there's a whole media campaign against how that's bad. And now you have a whole new generation who's now 1 year old, 2 years old, 5 years old, or not even born yet. And when they get to their teens and their 20s, they're going to be raised in an environment that says drinking alcohol to have sex is a bad thing. So that would be the new cultural norm. If you look back at what's going on now through the 20 teens, through a 2056 cultural lens, it's going to look real bad. That's why in order to be a true student of history, you have to understand the context of the history and look at the history through that cultural lens of that time. You can't assign your values of now to back then, outside of the laws of Ma'at and the universal natural law. Natural law never changes. Ma'at never changes. The 7 laws of Tahuti never change. The male, female, the cultural, the old school laws, those don't change. But as far as these man-made laws, that shit shifts every 25 years. So I remember listening to my parents talk, and when Bill Cosby thing first happened, my parents were like, man, back in the 70s, everybody was doing that Spanish fly shit. Like, it was open. Like, it wasn't, in 1965, was not seen as a form of deception. It was seen as, let's have a fucking party. But since Spanish fly has been banned, and now it's no longer deemed a proper use for sex, when it comes to my generation where Spanish fly was never a thing, it's easiest for us to look back and say, oh man, that nigga ain't shit. When fact of the matter is, at the time that they did it, everything was good. But I said all that to say, Bill Cosby still didn't understand how to maneuver within the system. And that be where niggas fuck up. We don't understand who they are. Hell, we barely understand who we are. You right, Dr. Sinister, they sold Spanish fly in the back of comic books back in the day. Yeah. So that's the history, lad. That's the way to help you look at things. Back on a different time, it's just best not to judge. It's been an hour since I smoked a joint. Time for another joint. I'm doing papers this time. What y'all talking about in the chat room? Judge ye not, exactly. That's something I really thank my wife for from the bottom of my heart. My wife really helped me learn and understand how to get myself out of a judgmental mindset. Because even though I understood a lot of the stuff academically, I didn't know how to apply it. It's one thing to have academic knowledge of a particular subject. It's another thing to have functional knowledge of it. And what you want to always make sure you want to do is you want to get to the point to where you have functional knowledge of things. Academic knowledge ain't going to get you nowhere. You got to be able to apply the shit and have it be functional. And that's why I like teaching the way I teach. I like making shit functional for people. And I don't argue with degenerates. I don't argue with people that be running around. So what you doing for the black community? Anytime somebody runs around and asks you what you doing for the black community, I guarantee you they ain't doing shit. Them niggas ain't doing shit. So you gotta be you, man. Gotta be you. And you don't argue with goofballs. And you don't argue with people. Another people you don't argue with. You don't argue with people who make bad faith arguments. What's a bad faith argument? A bad faith argument is when you prove something and back it with evidence, and they come back and retort with just an opinion, or they change the subject. You answer that question, and instead of them acknowledging you answering that question, they just jump to the next subject with another question, and you answer that, and they jump to the next question. You ain't got time to argue with them kind of people. If you make a point, oh, thank you, somebody bought the book, no time to waste, I appreciate that. If a person keeps jumping topic to topic, every time you neutralize their topic, they don't want understanding, they just want to argue. Don't waste your time with people who just want to argue. Because if a person wants understanding, you give them that, and they just say, what about this? What about that? What about? They ain't serious. They are not serious. Don't worry about that kind of individual. Come on now. I put my tray down. To buy cones, I can roll a cone. It's roll like this, because when you get that tip right on one side, it always burns evenly. All right, what you niggas talking about? You're right, I don't argue with white supremacists. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, we different, Chuck. You're right, hey, Sheila made a good point. Yes, they're trying to take Bill Cosby's land. Bill Cosby's land in Pennsylvania is under where they're trying to lay one of those major pipelines. And if you look, right before he went to jail, right before that accusation came out, earlier that same year, you see Bill Cosby and his wife Camille protesting that pipeline that they're trying to run through Bill Cosby's land. And then you have the district attorney run on putting Bill Cosby in jail. It's like all 2015 or 14. Go back and look that up. Bill Cosby protests pipeline run through property. Look that up. Think I'm bullshitting. Look that up. Hell yeah, Dr. Sinister. Hell yeah, we should push back against the Stop Asian Hate. Every time you see an Asian fucking up a black woman in one of these goddamn salons, hashtag Stop Asian Hate with that. That's a propaganda shit. Y'all know I love my Zippos. I love my Zippos. Stop Asian Hate is propaganda, is bullshit, and we know it. Black ass thing. I was having this conversation yesterday with my man Cisco. Gotta have Cisco on the show. Cisco is a Hispanic brother born and raised here in LA. I love Cisco. He a Mexican comic. And he's one of those, he truly is, I really feel, I see Cisco as somebody who truly wants to dig through the bullshit. He don't care about Latinos having a leg up over black people, none of that. He just don't like none of the bullshit. So one thing I love about Cisco is he'll call me and like see shit going on. And Cisco's been real heavy on Kwame Brown, what's been going on. And now Kwame's talking some real talk. So he's asking me about the whole Stop Asian Hate thing. And I was able to tell him flat out, look, America every 60 years is going to import a new immigrant class to undercut the cost of labor. On a low end, they undercut the cost of labor, which displaces black people from working. On the upper end, what they do is they have whatever the previous low class, they elevate them to honorary white status. The Irish, the Dutch, the Italians, they were known as ethnic. They weren't white. But when they first imported them here in the 1870s, it was to undercut the cost of labor after we rebuilt the nation. Black folks weren't slaves anymore. We rebuilt the nation. Now you need a labor class, but you don't want to pay niggas all this money. So bring in the Chinese, bring in the Italians, bring in the Dutch, bring in the Irish, bring in the Germans. But they're not considered white, they're considered ethnic. What happens in the 1930s? President Roosevelt signs the New Deal. What was the New Deal? The New Deal was all these ethnic whites been over here in America for 50 years now, 60 years, and they basically tired of being treated like the niggas. No working rights, none of that. So he says, okay, I'll make you a deal. We're going to put it in a 40-hour work week. We're going to install the Social Security system, Medi-Cal. But for all these new rights, these rights only apply to jobs that ethnics work, not black people. That's why if you look, the reason why farm workers, the reason why waiters and waitresses in service industry jobs don't get those labor union protections is because when Roosevelt signed the New Deal, they had to make sure that the jobs that black people dominated got none of the new rights. That's where the whole tipping system came in. The liberals wanted the black folks to make more money. They were like, the conservatives like, we ain't gonna pay them, so you pay them. And liberals said, hey, we want them to make more money, but not out of our pocket. So that's where the tipping system came in. It's like, okay, y'all want to pay these niggas? These niggas work by tip. So when the New Deal was signed, it excluded black people. And at the same time, those people who were considered ethnic, they then got elevated to being classified as white. Mind you, at the time, Latinos were classified as white during this time. But what happened during the 1950s and 60s? Civil rights movement. Black people said enough. We're not going to be on these goddamn farms. My grandfather was a farmer. That's what he called themselves. They didn't call themselves sharecroppers. They called themselves farmers. And I still talk to my grandfather about this shit to this day. He's 97 years old. My grandfather was a farmer in Grace, Mississippi. He carried water. He went to school into the 2nd grade, quit school so he can carry water on the farm. And his jobs didn't get any New Deal guarantees. And so that's when you have black people like saying, fuck this shit. We need to migrate to these cities. These cities have jobs. So we migrate out to the cities. America says, okay, these niggas ain't gonna work for these low wages no more, but we still want to pay low wages. So import these people from down south in Mexico and have them come, because they'll work for damn near nothing, because what we pay them is far more than what they make down there. So they import the Mexicans. At the same time they import Mexicans, they declassify Latinos and Mexicans from white status and they create this Latino status. That's why you have non-white Hispanic, Hispanic non-white. That whole Hispanic classification came after when they declassified Hispanic Latino people from being officially white. They had to declassify them from being officially white because they knew they were going to bring millions of over to replace the Negroes on the plantation. So in the 1960s, they come up with a new classification called minorities. Look it up in the Kerner Commission report. Minorities means basically anybody not white, not classified as white. And it really means people not classified as black, but we're going to make these niggas think that they're part of that. Bring in the Asians in the 1960s, real heavy. The 1970s and 80s, really the 80s, they start bringing in a lot of black people from the Caribbean and Africa. So where are we right now in all this whole situation? How do we get to where we are right now? When they brought those people in to replace, to displace, because they brought them in because black folks started getting headway in political office. Black people started owning a lot more businesses after the 60s. Black people made real big pushes. We were 70% of government workers. They were like, okay, we're going to give this shit to one generation. Who's going to be the government workers, contractors, skilled labor class from the 90s moving forward? It's going to be the children of these new immigrants we're bringing in now. See, black folks don't see them as a threat because they can't speak the language. They can't do what you do. They ain't worried about them. But we want their kids to replace your kids. So what are we looking at right now as a black person? Who has, especially if you live in a city like LA, that's not all black. If you live outside of a major black town, this is coming your way. When you look at the people who work at the DMV now, they are all Asian and Mexican and non-black. The people who work the city jobs now, non-black. Where are black people? Either working security guard or hustling on their own. So they did it to us again. We were replaced when it was time for our generation to come and make advances on what our parents did. They pulled the carpet from under the rug with another class of minorities. And this isn't shitting on those other classes of minorities. This is just history. And I'm able to, this is actually the conversation I'm having with my Mexican friend. Because he's asking me about this anti-Asian hate bill. So I'm telling him all this. Because truth is truth. If someone's really your friend, they don't get offended at truth. If someone gets offended at you telling the truth because the truth leans towards black cause, that means that person don't like you or respect you. They just faking the funk. Remember this, people, if anyone gets offended at you talking like this, is because they don't respect your cultural heritage. And you don't want to be around people who don't respect your cultural heritage. Because I respect Latinos. I respect white people. I respect everybody. Because I respect myself first. But through respecting myself first, I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm not going to not speak up for me and my people. I respect me and my people too much to not speak up. So, see Cisco. Oh, Cisco in the room right now. What's up, Cisco? I was telling him a little bit of our conversation we had yesterday. So when it comes to the whole Stop Asian Hate thing, now it's Asians' turn in America to get bumped up to honorary white status. The same way they did the Greek, the same way they did the Italian, the same way they did the Irish. Because we gotta remember, Europeans don't get along. They've been warring thousands of years before they met us. These crackers only been fucking with us for like 400 years. They've been fucking with each other for thousands. Always gotta remember that. We're living out their story. They have all kinds of ethnic differences still that goes on to this day. They don't like each other at all. But when their numbers are decreasing, like they are right now, they elevate different buffer classes. Go back to that broadcast I did on feudalism. I talked about racism as feudalism. Feudalism turned on its side and turned from classification to color category. Before they had different color categories in Europe, they had feudalism. Your kings, your knights, your nobles. Well, your kings, nobles, knights, servants, peasants. Same classification system, but it's color coded from light to dark. And on top, the king class is white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, WASPs. If you're a white landowning Anglo-Saxon Protestant with no debt, you're on top of the pyramid. Your noble class are your ethnic whites. That caste system, yeah. Your noble class, they're your ethnic whites. That's why it was such a big deal with Kennedy becoming president, being a Catholic, because they don't fuck with Irish Catholics. Irish Catholics are on the lowest run of whiteness. Do you know that Irish weren't considered officially white until 1977? Look it up. So that's how they treated each other. When their white Anglo-Saxon Protestant numbers get lower and lower and lower, they elevate the next nearest white group up to white status. And that's what's going on right now with the anti-Asian hate bill. It's time for Asians to be elevated above all other quote-unquote minority groups. So now, if you're not Asian and not white, and also the better skin Asian or darker skin Asian, not considered a white person, skin Asian, is now going to be a hate crime. That's giving license to Asians with white supremacist point of views, and we know they have white supremacist point of views. Why? Because there was an article on MSNBC last week talking about how much Asian money the Proud Boys gets, and how Asians are the biggest donors to a lot of white supremacy groups. Remember, Japan fought on the side of the Nazis. Remember, color-coded racism started in India. This whole learning how to do a caste system on color, the white folks took that from India. All history is a current event. That's what Dr. John Henry Clark says. All history is a current event. And when you understand the history, you understand the current events. It's time Asians be elevated to honorary white status. Officially. It's always been sort of unofficial. Go look up, I encourage you. This was on themedium.com. But a matter of fact, I did a whole broadcast maybe about 6 months ago, back in January. I did a whole broadcast on the rhetoric with Asian, this whole Asian thing, anti-Asian stuff. And it talks about Asians knowingly accepting the model minority status. Model minority meaning the minority that every other minority should look up to. There are tons of articles on Asians talking to other Asians. about how dangerous it is because they'll give you the model minority status, but that doesn't stop you from being abused by the white supremacists. You're still going to take your abuse from the white supremacists, but you're just going to be given extra liberties to lord over the other non-white people. And it's a devil's bargain. This is how Asians talk to Asians. Let me tell you something. That's a bunch of bullshit when they say they don't accept white status. They may not accept white status at home. They may tell your black ass they don't accept white status, but they accept white status. How do I know? They accept them loans given to them, don't they? They accept being able to live on a certain side of town, don't they? They accept them jobs that they Eastern European ass can get that your black ass can't. They accept the propaganda that constantly marginalizes and berates your black ass and don't do nothing about it. If they accept all that, they accept their white status. Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. You're right, Cisco. Cisco just said he wouldn't be surprised if Black Lives Matter is behind the Stop Asian Hate movement, making that money. You damn right Black Lives Matter is behind the Stop Asian Hate movement. You damn right, Cisco. Yes, BLM, that Democratic Front group, yes. They're major parts of that Stop Asian Hate movement. Anything they can do to deflect from what's really going on. So what you're seeing right now is Asians being elevated to honorary white status. And I just gave you a history lesson on it. You can look up everything I say. From 1881, that Immigration Act, to what happened with the labor unions, to the New Deal and how we were excluded, and at the same time we were excluded out of the New Deal. These ethnic whites were now reclassified as whites, and Latinos declassified from white to non-white, to this new classification of minority being introduced in 1965. So the import of a lot of Asians in the 60s and 70s. Into the 80s, a lot of Caribbean and Africans. To what's going on right now when you understand history, you understand the present. That's why I love history so much. Understanding history is understanding now. And you don't get you all emotional and scared about now. You just see now, okay, that's what's going on. Yeah, I don't get mad. I don't have any anger in my heart. I don't have any malice in my heart. I understand that the people I see in front of me ain't the problem. The system that supports it is. And I got to keep focused on the system that allows this to happen. You're right, Cisco. Anybody who barks from I want to be a neighbor is fake. I see this shit as a system we need to take down. I don't have animosity towards other people. Just like I don't have animosity towards gays. I just see gay LGBTQ is a new classification that they use to divide the people who built this nation from getting our true fucking justice. That's a new classification that they made in the hierarchy. LGBTQ. Doesn't mean I dislike gay people. But I disagree with their political status and their political point of view and their political, because the LGBTQ political agenda is in direct confrontation with my political agenda as a black American. So I have an issue with that political agenda, not the individual gay people who may or may not participate in the agenda. That's how I see this shit. The LGBTQ agenda was created on the back of black people. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to get off because my wife just woke up. We're going to go kick it. Got to kick it with my wife. My wife is my nigga. I love that woman. We be having fun like a motherfucker. But the LGBTQ agenda was created on the backs of the black suffering. The Rainbow Coalition was Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers. That was just saying, hey, everybody come together and fight against white supremacy. Now they done took that rainbow and said, hey, everybody, this is about dookie love. No, this is about fighting white supremacy. Now you saying it's about love. Ain't goddamn what? That's my issue. Look at what's coming up next week. In 1978, President Jimmy Carter declared June Black Music Month. June has been Black Music Month since 1978. 2014, I think 2014, somewhere around there, President Obama made this Pride Month. It was unofficially Pride Month going back to the late 90s. Bill Clinton tried it in the 90s, and then Bush put a stamp on that like, ain't no goddamn pride, nothing. Then Osisi came in and established this officially Pride Month. Again, things that we already have established as a people, them adopting and taking and stamping out our original meaning and intent. The original meaning and intent of the Rainbow Coalition was the black, brown, yellow, red, whatever color you come from, was to come together and fight against the machine that's fucking us all over. That was the intent of the rainbow. They took that and turned it into man sex, organ grinding. That's in direct political confrontation with my political agenda. My political agenda is to have a just system. So no matter what color you are, you get treated fairly. No matter how much money you have, you get treated fairly. A justice system, not an injustice system right now. I want my eye. The people that deserve the most help getting the most help. And if someone does a crime, them getting a humane punishment for that crime. And unless it's murder or something like that with intent, a chance or rape or somehow rape of a child, unless it's one of those two things, give them a chance to re-enter society and be constructive members of society. Meaning if you stole at one point in your life, you serve your time and you come back and we train you in something that's a skill that's going to pay you enough money so you don't have to ever steal again. That's the kind of society I want. That's the kind of society that Fred Hampton wanted when he created the rainbow. But you have these people who are every bit as racist. These gay people are just as racist as regular white folks. Go to West Hollywood. When I used to drive Uber, I used to drive Uber in West Hollywood because that paid the biggest surges. Especially like in 2016 when Uber used to surge. The West Hollywood surge at 2 a.m. was always going to be like 4 or 5 times the rate. Or in regular Hollywood, it might be 2 or 3 times the rate. In West Hollywood, on Santa Monica Boulevard, where the Wompty Wimps were, that shit was going to be a 5 times, 6 times surge. You talking $80 for a 6-mile ride. Anyway, me being the armchair cultural anthropologist that I am, love studying people, I would listen to the stories at the end of the night. Listen to the men and the Doogie Boys talk. Doogie Boys be in the back seat. You get white folks, they talk about how much fun that they had. You get the black gay people in the car talking. Oh, why couldn't we get into that club? Oh, it didn't seem to be crowded. They didn't let us in because we were black. You get the Latino gay people. Oh man, they were rude. That's why we had to go to the Latino club. I'll go up and down Santa Monica Boulevard. It's every bit as segregated as regular Hollywood. The white gay people party here, and the multiculti club might be one or two multiculti clubs. Then it'll be one only black gay. Then maybe one only black or Latino and Asian gay. But the white folks dominate Santa Monica Boulevard. And I'm like, shit. The same segregation going on Sunset is going on Santa Monica. So what makes the gay folks any morally better than the non-gay folks? When I used to work security, I had to work security for gay night sometime at the club. And I would see the same hierarchy. If it was the gay night that we had to work security for, if it was a white night, it would be nothing but, it would be the same rules. It would be no more than 3% black, maybe 4% other Latino, and everything else is going to be white. If not 100% white, on gay night and straight night. So I saw, just being an armchair anthropologist, ain't no difference. So why do you get to amalgamate a sign that was meant for us to come together and create justice for everyone to justice for you? That's selfish. Because you like shit streaks on your white sheets, you gonna take a flag that was meant for all of us for you. Because you need ass tampons. You gonna take our sign? Ain't right. Same thing with Black Music Month. American music is Black Music Month. We shouldn't even need a Black Music Month. But since America doesn't acknowledge black music, we had to create a month that said, okay, we're going to celebrate the month that we created all this shit. That's why the BET Awards is in June. To celebrate black music. Now here you come out of nowhere with some pride shit. With a flag we created. For dookie infatuation. For rim jobs. You're going to take something meant to bring us together to bring you together. And only the white side of you. Y'all don't give a fuck about them black people. I see it on your street. I see it in your city. Why does West Hollywood, I gotta look up the amount of the percentage of black people who live in West Hollywood. West Hollywood is a town in LA that got created and separated specifically for gay people. They got rainbow sidewalks. It's a gay town, gay flags everywhere. It's still goddamn 99% white. Don't quote my numbers, because I haven't looked it up. I'm just going off what I see. Drove Uber all through West Hollywood. If I had a pickup in West Hollywood, it was a white person living in that house. If y'all LGBT, if y'all care about all gay people, if it's 10%, now the amount of black people in LA is down to 6%. It was 13% 10 years ago, but it's down to 6%. Why ain't West Hollywood 6% black? Why ain't West Hollywood, LA's like 40% Latino? Why ain't West Hollywood 40% Latino? If y'all gay shit was about everybody, LA's like now like 15% Asian. Why ain't West Hollywood 15? Why doesn't West Hollywood reflect the demographic of the city? Got to ask these questions. Why was J. Edgar Hoover gay ass #1 mission to take out the black liberation movement? Why was it James Buchanan? I think it was Buchanan. Let me look it up. Buchanan. Look up the only single president. I'll be getting these. I'm dyslexic too. James. I think it was Buchanan. Yeah. Single. Was it Buchanan? Yeah, James Buchanan. The president that led us into the Civil War. That nigga was gay. He was the only single president in United States history. James Buchanan was gay, according to what they said back then, allegedly. That's the reason why he the motherfucker that led us to the Civil War. Because he was so goddamn racist. Gotta ask these fucking questions. Don't let them push an agenda on us. So stand up for yourself. Don't ever be afraid to stand up for yourself. Because, like what me and Cisco was talking about yesterday on the phone, when you become a willing advocate of a system that advocates, okay, you said 3.2% blacks in WeHo. Well, 6.8% blacks in LA. So that means, goddamn it, it needs to be 6.8% black people in WeHo. Racist bastards. Don't ever be afraid to advocate for yourself. Don't ever be intimidated by that. Because other people who love themselves, they don't have an issue with you advocating for yourself. You can run across people from other races, other cultures, and stand in your truth. As a matter of fact, they respect it more. These niggas hear coons every goddamn day. And if somebody doesn't like you advocating for yourself, that means they don't respect you. They may smoke weed with you. Y'all may have the same top 5. Y'all may have randomly trained on the same chick. Still don't respect you. If they don't respect you standing up for your culture, they don't respect you. Because I have no issues with people standing up for their culture. None. Again, like even this anti-Asian hate bill, I still hold no animosity towards Asians. Hell, one of my dopest friends in life, and somebody who's really helped me out a whole lot, is an Asian woman named Grace. I can call her right now for some legal advice. She's a lawyer. I can call her right now. She'll tell me anything and not charge me a dime. The reason I have my company, Breakthrough Advocacy Services, was because of Grace. I was working at my last job. I didn't even know being an advocate for children was even an industry. I'm at my job getting paid fucking $16 an hour to do what motherfuckers is charging $175 an hour to do. I'm like, what? It was an Asian woman that turned me on to that whole industry. I grew up in the Crenshaw district. My neighbors were Asians. They don't tell y'all. The Crenshaw district was dominated by people from Okinawa, Japan, different parts of Asia. When black people took over the Crenshaw district, we bought our houses in mass from Asians. Lemert Park, Asians owned those houses when we moved in the 70s and the 80s. So when we moved in our house in 1985, you know what the lady who sold the house my parents said? They said we were waiting to sell to black people because during World War II, when we were in internment camps, It was the black people who took care of our homes, rented our homes from us, or not so much rent. They would help take your manicure the line, take over for it. And then when they came back, the black folks gave them their homes back. Because when these same Japanese people made those deals with their white neighbors, when they came back, the white folks like, shit, it's my house now. In the during World War II, there was a unique relationship between blacks and Asians here in LA. So in the 1980s and 1970s, because the Japanese people were here, those old school Japanese were here that were still here from World War II, they dominated the Crenshaw district. And when black people started to buy those houses up, a lot of Asians stayed. So I had two Asian neighbors, one to the immediate left of me, Dorothy, and one 2 houses over, George. And Dorothy was the nicest neighbor you could ever want. We used to play basketball in my backyard all goddamn night. She never complained. I'm looking back, I was teaching myself how to play the drums when I was 14, 15. And I would be in my garage every day banging my drums. 1995, 94, 96, in my garage banging away at my drums. Dorothy would never complain. My basketball bounced over into her fence. She would always go back and get it. Dorothy loved us. And she cried when we moved. My neighbor, 2 neighbors over, was George. Mind you, I'm down the street from the Jungles. When we used to get drive-bys, I used to have drive-bys on my house because my neighbor to the right of me was a Crip. And we was in a blood neighborhood. That's how the Crenshaw district was. And across the street was some apartments. Niggas, the La Brea apartments, the shootouts every goddamn day. Dorsey High School. Anytime Dorsey played Crenshaw in a football game, you knew somebody was getting shot. So I had a Crip that stayed to the right of me, who we used to get drive-bys done on our house because they were looking for that nigga. And to the left of me was a Japanese woman, and 2 lefts over was another Japanese man. And every Friday, George brought my family flowers because he owned a flower shop. So every Friday, George brought us flowers. I have a great relationship with Asians. One of my best friends is from India. We became real cool in the 7th grade. We still mad cool. I was in his wedding 2 years ago. He's a cop. His brother was best man. I was the next man. I was in his wedding, an Indian cop, Asian. I ain't got no problems with Asians. But I still, as a black man, gonna stand on my square and fight this fucking propaganda tooth and nail. They said there ain't no goddamn Asian hate. And I'm gonna stand against anyone who pushes that bullshit agenda hard. I can decipher the difference between how I see Asians walking around on the street and this political agenda. Yeah, Dwan fact. One of my best friends is an Indian cop for over 20 years. Damn, we coming up on 30 years. I've known him as long as I've known my wife. 30 years. 1993 it'd be 30 years. I've known these motherfuckers. 1993. 28 years. One of my closest friends is an Indian cop from India. Actually born in Tanzania, but pure blood Indian, Kamala Harris style. But you see, I still go hard on Kamala Harris though. Separating personal feelings from political agenda. Understanding the difference between political agenda and people use for political agendas. Raven said Thomas Jefferson High was the worst. My grandparents met at Jefferson High here in LA. My grandparents and my grandfather on my dad's side went to Jefferson High when he moved out here to LA. My grandfather and my mom's parents met at Jefferson High, and my dad's dad went to Jefferson High back in the 1940s. Poppy went to, when I was still alive, he went to Jefferson High in the 1940s. My grandparents on my mom's side that went to Jefferson High, they went to Jefferson High in the 1950s. I read the Black Presidents by J.A. Roberts. That's a good book. I talked to China Mac. What's up, Ali Hemmett? We were talking about your brother earlier, Ali. I'm about to get off now. You say you late. I'm actually about to get off. But we were talking about your brother. We were talking about Bobby Hemmett, man, at the beginning of this broadcast, and how much Bobby Hemmett means to us, and how things that Bobby Hemmett was saying 25, 30 years ago is relevant to now. Man, I wish we could talk to Bobby Hemmett again. Bobby Hemmett's a god, man. I got so much respect and reverence for that cat. Bobby Hemmett, Dr. Phil Valentine, Dick Gregory, I'm drawing a blank, Delbert Blair. Them niggas sounded all goddamn out there then. They relevant now. Yeah. I'm about to get the fuck up out of here. Salute to you, Ali Hemmett. And salute to everybody up in here. I'm about to take my wife to breakfast. Shit. Oh, what's up, Star? Oh, Valentine's webinar's going on right now? God damn it. I forgot about that. I want to get that. I'm going to see if I can go back and get his webinar. Sometimes he'll keep it up on his website. I'm going to go back and get that Dr. Phil Valentine webinar. Because he be saying that shit. They done basically banned his ass off of social media. So you got to get his webinars. I'm going to get that.